Hi, this is Scott with eTrailer. Today we're taking a look at and installing the XC60 for 2021 Volvo XC60. If you already have an existing 4-pole wiring set up for your Volvo, this is going to give you an option of upgrading that system to where it gives you a 7-way. And with that, you're going to also keep your 4-way plug as well. But this setup will allow you to have all of your lights that you need to stay legal for your trailer. It's going to give you your brake lights, your tail lights. It's going to give you your left and right turns. So that's going to help you stay legal, and not only legal, it's going to keep the people behind you knowing what your intentions are while you're going down the road. Now what this one will do is you're plugged right into your existing 4-pole wiring. Also, this is going to go to your battery, so it's going to allow you to eventually set up trailer brake setup if you want to. So you can run wire forward and set up a brake controller if you plan on doing that down the road. So if you plan on getting this 7-way setup, or you have any questions or comments about it, feel free to leave a question or comment below in the comment section. We'd love to hear from you. Other than that, installation for this is pretty straightforward. It's going to run most of your wiring here in the back, so you're not running a bunch of wire forward when you're setting this up. If it's something you don't have time to do yourself, you can always take a look at our dealer locator and get something done for you locally. If it's something you feel like doing yourself, stick around, watch our video, and we'll help you get it installed. To start our installation, we're going to want to find a good place to put our bracket, and right here on the back, it looks like that's going to line up pretty good. So we already have a 4-pole mount here. So what I'm going to do is just remove these screws and get our bracket put in place. Now the screws that we had for this were a little bit long, but if you have the factory star bit screws, those should work for you to mount your bracket in place. Now we can get our 7-way plug put in position, and this is going to include having a 4-pole built in, so this is a really nice setup. It's going to allow us to have our 4-pole and our 7-pole. So what we'll do is we'll just take our hardware that comes in our kit and we'll get this bolted in place. We'll take the long screw, run that through the front. Then we'll take a washer, lock washer, and the nut. And let's get those on the back. And we'll do that with all 4 of those screws. Now I did have to add some spacers that came on our original 4-pole mount. That way it gets my 7-way down a little bit, so I'm able to open up our cap all the way, so when we put our plug in, it'll latch down correctly and it'll give us enough room to install that. So now all we have to do is we have our 4-pole wiring that comes with our kit. We're just going to slide that in this slot. Get that put on there. And now we have our original 4-pole that was already pre-wired onto our vehicle. Now we'll just take these 2 and plug these together. And that's going to make our connection there. Now we need to figure out our power source, and fortunately enough for us, we do have a battery in the back. So what we're going to end up doing is we're going to end up taking the spare tire out, and our battery is going to be up underneath of that. And that's what we're going to use to access our battery. Now we'll just take a Phillips head screwdriver and back off our plastic nuts that hold down the foam around our battery. Now we should be able to lift that out of place. Now behind here we're going to have 2 8mm bolts. Now we just want to pull up on our threshold. That should pop right out of the way for us. Now on each side you're going to have another 8mm back in here. We did remove the foam accessory compartment back here. It just lifts out of the way. That's going to give us room to get in from the sides to get those out. Now, one of the things we need to figure out is how to get a signal for our brake light switch to our brake controller. So what we did is we tested, and in this harness right here, we tested along all these little pins, and we found out that this solid yellow wire here, that's right next to the yellow with looks almost like a pink or orange stripe on it, that one right there, the second one over, is our brake light signals. So we follow that down, and here we have a red wire that comes out, and this one is going to be attached to a box that we already have set up to our 4-pole that was previously installed. So this will be the wire that we're going to use to get our brake signal from. So all we'll do is we'll tap into this and run a wire forward when we run our other wires forward for our brake controller. Now, to start our wiring, all we need to do is we're just going to keep this plugged in and snip off this end because we're not going to need that. So what we'll do, we'll take a zip tie and we'll run that through. And what that's going to do is that's going to hold our wiring together so that doesn't come back apart on us. That's just a little bit of an extra security measure. Now we can snip off our tab. Now I'll come back through in a little bit and I'll put some electric tape around that just to give it a good seal. Now as far as our wiring goes, what we did is we just put a wire tie around our 2 plugs that come together just to keep those together, and I'll come back through and tape those up with black tape just to keep a good seal around that. And now, as far as our wires coming out of our harness, we're going to have our white wire that has a ring terminal on it installed already. That one is going to be our ground. Our yellow wire will not be used. That is for a reverse light for our trailer, and we won't be using that. Our black wire is going to go forward, and that's going to be for our power. That's going to go to our battery. And our blue wire is going to be our signal for our electric brakes for our trailer. Now it had just your regular crimp-on connectors, and so what I did is just cut those off, and what I'm going to do is strip those back, and I'm going to replace the butt connectors that were on there with heat shrink. That's going to give us a good waterproof seal and keep corrosion at bay in the future. Now, usually you would take your black wire that's in your duplex and run that in your duplex all the way forward. But since our battery is in the back, what I'm gonna do to run power to my 7-way plug is I have some extra wire laying around, and you could even take it out of the loom that you have, just peel back your gray and then take some of the wire out of that. But what I'm going to do is take some of my extra wire I have, and I'm going to run that to my butt connector I put on for my black wire. I'm going to crimp that in place. Now with that done, I'll take my heat source and get that heat shrunk up a little bit. Now when we're doing this, what we're looking for is to get all the little bubbles out. You don't have to get them all out, just make sure you get a lot of them out of there. And once we start seeing a little bit of gel coming out around the bottom of our wire, that's how we know we have a good seal. Now we're just going to take our white wire and we're going to ground it to a good place on the body. We have a really nice ground. We're just going to use one of our self-tapping screws that come in our kit, and that'll give us a good ground. Now for our blue wire we have coming out, we're going to go ahead and run our white wire that we have in our duplex, and this is going to run forward to our brake controller. We'll just get that crimped in place just like we did our other wire. Now that we have our blue wire connected, we're going to go ahead and run our black wire up and in through our grommet, and that's going to head towards our battery as well. Okay, so now we have our relay, and this one's going to be the 40 amp, and this one is going to be connected down to our 7-way plug itself. So this is going to power that. So what we're going to do is we're just going to mount our relays right down here on the side. They'll be out of the way. They'll have a nice place to be mounted up. So I'm just going to run my self-tapping screws that come in our kit into that and get those in place. Now we have our power wire run across the back of our trunk area. Now we just ran it over here. Now when we're running our wire, I like to leave a little bit extra. That way, say they ever need to move the wire around at all, they have some room to do that, just so it isn't really tight. We'll just snip some of that off, keep that off to the side. We will be reusing that. Now we'll just strip an end off. And in our kit, we're going to have ring terminals. We want to get one of our ring terminals placed on here. Get that crimped in place. Now we'll just take our end that we have our ring terminal on and mount that to our silver post. Just get that snug for now. Now we can back off the nut on our copper post. Now we're just going to use a piece of the spare wire we had, and we set up another one. We have a large terminal and a small terminal we put on these. Now this is going to be the line that's going to lead up to our battery. So now we'll just take our small ring terminal and mount that on our copper side of our relay. Get that put in place. Now we can snug both of those down with a 3/8 socket. With those snug down, now we can bring this line up to our battery. Now I do like to leave these a little long as well, just in case they ever need to change out their battery or something. I like to leave a little bit so they can get their wire out of the way. We can always tuck this down and out of the way, and this is going to be up underneath of our cover and underneath of our spare tire, so we don't have to worry about that getting caught up in anything. So now right here we have our positive terminal to our battery, and you can see that we've already had a terminal put on for our 4-pole wiring. So what I'm going to do is, this is one of the nuts that won't back all the way out. They kind of come up and stop. So what I'm going to do is what we did on this one here, and we're just going to cut a notch in the end. And what that's going to do is allow us to back off this nut and then slide it down into our terminal and then tighten that down. Just take a pair of snips, cut in the center. I always try and go a little small. You can always end up taking a little more out if you need to, or spread those open. Now with a 10mm socket, we'll just back off that nut to our battery. With that backed off, we'll take our ring terminal and slide that in place. With that in place, we'll just tighten down our nut. Now with the tester plugged in, we can check and make sure our setup is working. So now we have our lights off, so now I'll turn them on and I'll do left turn, do right turn signal. I'll do brakes with right turn signal, brakes with left turn signal, and back off again, and all of our lights are working. Now with all of our testing done and everything's working the way we want it to be, that'll do it for our installation of our ETBC7L on our 2021 Volvo XC60. I'm Scott with eTrailer, and thanks for watching.